Another important subject also, we're looking at the Takoradi missing girls who were subsequently confirmed dead, unfortunately, and how, the security services dealt with this whole issue. We've discussed this severally, but we're also going to put the spotlight on it this morning. And we have put together a piece that shows the timelines in respect of this all-important story. Let's take a listen to that and return to our panelists for their perspectives on this.
Year-old student of the University of Education, Winneba, Priscilla Bentum, who was on her way back home from work, went missing. The family was contacted by her kidnappers and a ransom of 4,000 cedis was paid. It turns out the money was not up to the expected amount by the kidnappers. 4 months later, in December, another girl went missing, 18-year-old Ruth Love Kwesen, on a promise of an MTN job. Innocent Ruth Love Kwesen was lured out and kidnapped. Less than 2 weeks after, while the Kwesen family was yet to come to terms with what was happening, another girl went missing, Priscilla Mantebia Crunchy, 15 years of age. On December 22, a day after Mantebia went missing, prime suspect Samuel Wills was captured. He was in court on December 24 and remanded to reappear for commencement of proceedings on January 29. But on December 30, 2018, Samuel Wills escaped custody of the Takoradi Central Police Station. 7 policemen from the Takoradi Metropolitan Police Command, under whose watch the suspected kidnapper escaped, were interdicted and given a 10-day ultimatum to rearrest the suspect or face disciplinary action. Samuel Wills was rearrested on January 3 in his hideout, an uncompleted building at Takoradi, less than 800 meters from the house of kidnapped Ruth Love Kwesen. In court on January 9, Samuel Wills alleged 2 individuals, one Kwesi and John, with the help of a CID officer, helped him escape. A major upset happened when the police failed to produce Samuel Wills in court because he was in Accra and couldn't be brought to the Takoradi Market Circuit Court. This incensed the residents of Takoradi, who organized a massive vigil to press home their demands. 3 months after Samuel Wills' case started, the court ruled charging Samuel Wills on 3 counts and sentencing him to 18 months imprisonment for escaping lawful custody. On April 2, 2019, at the height of the grief of the families, Director General of Police CID, COP Mamiya Tiwa Adudankwa, assured them that the police knew the whereabouts of the missing girls and will very soon be reunited with them.
The assurance to the family is that they should keep on keeping on. The ladies, we know where they are and they are safe.
Their hope was, however, short-lived when 3 weeks after the assurance, the CID boss chose to rather deepen their woes on Mother's Day. But this wasn't the only promise that had seemed to raise hopes. On April 24, a major circulating daily newspaper, the Daily Guide, published a headline story stating the 3 kidnapped girls were rescued and were undergoing medical checks and will soon be handed over to the police. On June 10, 2019, the police picked up another suspect described as the mastermind behind the Takoradi girls' kidnapping. He was picked up in Togo. A month to a year since the first kidnapping, the 3 families organized a media conference to demand the intervention of the diplomatic mission. Their demand came on the back of the rescue of some foreign national who had been kidnapped. The speed and time of their rescue got the families of the 3 kidnapped girls worried. They may have been taken for granted for long, but on July 15, while on a tour in the western region, the president assured the families' government had not given up on the girls.
And I man sana yachi wa Takoradi obia na ho obia enna wo ho anase ne ebinum a timodefo wudi for na eye adwuma nti ekwan a ye fa ye hwa ebetumi ahwe ye de emofra no obia ena ho ye tumi na wasensen ho ebia ya anhyeda nka about him abeka de ye ya ebinu beka se yada entumi ba ne sa kana forma se BBSC na enya emfata ese kwan bia so aban de na ho den ne bibia tumi ye ne tumi ehu ba bia wo no.
Interestingly, on August 2, news broke about human body remains retrieved from septic tank behind the house of prime suspect Samuel Wills. The police later confirmed the said report indicating 2 skulls and other human body remains were retrieved and transferred to Accra for further forensic investigations. A 4th body was also recovered from a well at Nkrofo News site in Takoradi, the Western Regional Capital, by police investigators. The remains were discovered at an uncompleted building where Samuel Wills was rearrested in connection with missing persons and later convicted for unlawful escape. The country is now on tenterhooks and opinions are divided as the acting IGP James Opombuenu disclosed on September 16 the skeletal remains retrieved were that of the 4 Takoradi girls. Family members of the girls doubted the DNA report from the police, stressing their daughters were still alive.
A few minutes ago, officers of the Ghana Police Service informed 4 families in Takoradi in the Western region of Ghana that DNA tests conducted on some human remains discovered in the course of police investigations into the disappearance of 4 girls have turned positive as the remains of the girls. The Ghana Police Service.
Right, so that was in your shot there, IGP James Opombuenu, who on the 16th of September 2019 confirmed that DNA tests which was run on the body parts that were found in the septic tank somewhere in Takoradi were those of the 4 missing girls in Takoradi. So after a long period of hope that, you know, these girls would be found, we had this dashing information that they were indeed dead. The families have, you know, or families reacted. Indeed, some have said they would want to conduct their independent DNA tests because they don't believe that those body parts found belong to their girls. It's, you know, been a terrible issue in 2019. It's really tested the mettle of the Ghana Police Service. The Ghana Police Service has come under serious focus during the year, particularly the Director General of the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service, Madam Tiwa. A lot of issues have been said. We are going to look at it yet again. And indeed, anytime we discuss this, it saddens my heart, but let's also send our, you know, our condolences to the families of these girls. Indeed, it's a tough situation, and we can understand your pain. But obviously, it's a sensitive matter, but we need to also talk about it, you know, so that we can ensure that these things don't recur in the nation. It's a difficult situation. I want to start with you, Dr. Jinapo, on this one. I mean, several occasions we've discussed this issue on the show. Now, in September, not too long ago, the IGP announced or confirmed that indeed the body parts which were retrieved in Takoradi, somewhere in Takoradi, were those of the girls. And this was after an operation that was, you know, led by, I think, the police, some police personnel from Accra who had to go to Takoradi, you know, to beef up the team there. It brought out all of this, these situations or these issues. What do you make of this whole?
Well, I think this whole issue of the Takoradi girls have been one of the issues that have been widely discussed within the Ghanaian media space. And the day that I listened to the IGP, the Acting Inspector General of Police, that was on the 16th of September 2019, where he said the DNA test confirmed that those girls were the missing girls. I was disappointed but not surprised, because if you look at the chronology of events relative to this issue, you would have guessed that no matter what, the state wanted to bring finality to this issue. I mean, this case had to be closed. It was not politically wise. and it was not emotionally what? I mean, the best for it. But I'm not doubting whether those are the girls or not. But my worry, and I believe the concern of most Ghanaians, is how the police handle this issue, especially relative to the timing. Ruth Abaka got lost somewhere after July 29, 2018, in Takoradi. Priscilla Bentum, August 17, 2018. Look at the time. July 29th, August 17th. Within the same catchment area or the same environment. Ruth Love got missing December 4th, 2018. Priscilla Kranche, December 21st. So what was the police doing? That within this period, from July up to December, 4 missing girls. It tells you that there was an intelligence failure.
Well, the police, say that families didn't report
Whether
early
families
enough.
reported or not.
That's what they say, yes. And indeed, the families have denied that, really.
The police shouldn't even be allowed to say that.
That
I'm
is
so
it.
sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's false.
No.
Yeah,
July
there are
20
records of the reports within 24 hours, each one.
Abuna, if you have sheep, a flock of sheep, one gets missing, July, another August, then December, definitely you should be what? You should show concern that something is eating them up. So for the police not to have been able to do anything to stop it at that time, for me is very worrying. What I believe is of more concern, and I would say has been the personification of all this thing, has to do with the statement by what? The CID boss.
The infamous one.
CID
2nd
boss.
April, I think.
And you know what is interesting, and that is where the point that I'm trying to drive at is how secured we are under the current police system. Why am I saying? Tuesday, 2nd April 2019 was when the COP, that is the CID boss, made a statement that we know where they are and they are what? Safe.
They'll soon
That
be
we know where they
reunited
are
with their families.
and they are what? Safe. That was April, May, June, July, August. August 2nd, they find the bodies of what? These 4 girls in a septic tank or whatever it is. So the question that I asked myself, did the CID boss really know where they were? If she didn't know, why did she come out to tell people that they knew where they were?
On the why, I think we know why she did that,
Why?
because subsequently she said that to give the family hope.
No, but that was wrong. That was wrong. In fact, Abuna, when the bodies were found and the DNA test was conducted, the communication was done with the family privately. This issue of hope could have been done what? Privately. You get the point?
Right.
It could have been done privately. Right. So if on August 2nd, the bodies are found, and you made this statement around April, then it tells you that you didn't know what you were doing. But that notwithstanding, in spite of all these things, I think for most Ghanaians and for most parents, Ashanti Sabe is saying that let's look at how we can be protected. I believe the police should be more interested in intelligence gathering. And by intelligence gathering, it should be one that I think the citizenry must also be involved. In most advanced countries, when you see a stranger, you try to find out who this person is. But today in Ghana, even getting a profile of most of these people from our West African countries coming into it is a problem.
Right. Thanks for that. Kojo, quickly your perspective on that, and also specifically the families who insist that they would want to have their own, their independent DNA test. Your thoughts on that as well?
So maybe I'll start with what's happening now, the latest developments, and then go back, because this is a story that Joy News has followed quite closely. I myself have gone to Takoradi a number of times and met with the family members, so we're quite close to the story. So the police, following the autopsy and the announcement that these are the 4 girls, the family members, some of them, 3 of the families, said that they wanted to do their own independent DNA test. As we speak, the bodies have not been released to those families, and the families have not even been allowed to take a sample of those bodies to go and do their own independent test. Perhaps you would understand why they won't test the bodies just yet, because it might be evidence in the ongoing trial. But it's not clear to me why the police will not give samples or give them the chance to take samples to go and test. That ought not disrupt the wholesomeness of the evidence, if you will. But that has not happened. So the families, even those who are interested in doing their own test, have not had the chance to do that. Also, even more recently, I believe on the 11th, the 11th of December, at the last hearing in the case against Samuel Wills and two others, the prosecutor announced that there is some new forensic information and that they need time to analyze it before they can proceed. We don't know the nature of this new forensic information. We don't know if something new has been discovered, which will materially alter the facts as we know them. We don't know. But we have to wait.
Quick question though, because you are following it closely. Has the charge sheet been amended? Because it used to be a case of kidnapping.
Yeah.
Now with the confirmation of death, I heard something about the need to amend the charge. I'm not sure, but has it been? Do you know? Or they're still carrying on with?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
It may have. I don't want to become the authority on this.
Sure.
I have not received information that the charge sheet has been amended from kidnapping to murder.
Right.
What I do know is that the police, the prosecution, the prosecution took their time first trying them for escape.
Yes, that took forever.
Yes, that took a long time. But once that was concluded, they then started with the kidnapping trial, which, as you are very correctly asking, ought to be amended to murder. So those are the latest things. But then, going back to the very beginning and this thing about whether or not the families reported, this is not something that we should even be discussing, because the records are there. Each missing girl was reported missing within 24 hours. Because you see, the very day each one was taken, a phone call was made to the family from their phone, calling for a ransom. And each and every family member went to a police station. In fact, the one who had difficulty was the family of the final girl, Priscilla Crunchy, whose father went to one police station and was told, no, we don't have jurisdiction, go to another, and then to another. But he still did all of that movement within 24 hours. And at the last place, the right place, he was made to sit in the corner for 3 hours, just waiting for somebody to tend to his case. He had already reported, my daughter is kidnapped. And there was no urgency. This is his narration. There was no urgency. So eventually a member of the CID came and said, okay, so when they called, what did they say? And while the man was talking to him, another call came right there in front of the police officer. So he took this call, and this time around the person was reducing the ransom. Oh, okay, if you can't afford whatever I asked for, bring a smaller amount. The police told him to go and pay it.
Now you see, let me turn to Doc here on that, because that issue has been something I found very intriguing, that the police would encourage, a family member to go and pay the ransom demanded by the kidnapper. From your expertise standpoint, how prudent is that?
Not very prudent, but this brings to focus the whole gamut of policing, security, everything in Ghana. I'm happy we've raised this issue again, looking back, because if you know, I've been very much involved in this. Israeli and myself, we have appeared on several fora, especially the Ghana Police Watch, and I know the nitty-gritty. I know the inside story of this unfortunate accident that happened to Ghana. Without sounding like talking on behalf of the police, let us know that these things happen. Dr. Jinapor made some statements as if as it were, it is given that when it happens, the police will. It's not the case. Nowhere in the world. If you watch this CBC reality, you will see that some cases go as long as 38 years before they are unraveled.
But you see, he said that within a context. He laid, there was a certain,
I
yes.
agree.
That,
but it is within our context that it may even take more years. Because
so
we don't have
on
the
April
wherewithal.
2nd, the CID boss makes a statement that we know where they are.
I'm coming to
Then the suspect takes them on a wild goose chase
Exactly.
to all sorts of places.
I'm coming to
Eventually,
all
they
that.
can't find the body parts in the backyard.
I'm coming to all that.
Okay.
The main point is this, that perhaps this is the first time this is happening to us. The police were overwhelmed. Their training, whatever it is, our own security, our ignorance about things. Kojo made allusion to that. The point is this, that when we see things, do we recognize them and question them and that kind of thing? So security awareness is nil in Ghana. Yes, people made reports to the police and then they are overwhelmed, that they even didn't know what to do, or they have not been trained for that, or they are just like a lackadaisical about their work. All these things are happening in Ghana. For such a grievous kind of crime, you need the sophistication of the police. Do we have them? So within the ambit of our reality, the police did what they could. I'm not saying that what they did was best, but what they could do was what they did. Look, the 21st December report, the following day, the guy was arrested. And then meticulously, one after the other. And police work is such that if you don't have the information, you are as useless as I'm sitting down here. So the leads, and this guy, crime is such a security. Crime is such a way that I can lead you to wherever I want to lead you without necessarily making you aware of what I'm doing. And that is exactly what happened to Madam Tiwa. There was evidence. She was able to pay from her own pocket. This one I know. I don't know whether I have the right to say this over here. To Nigeria several times. And they were able to get leads in Nigeria. The Nigerian police also helping them to know that we know where they are. And that is where maybe she made a mistake of announcing. She didn't have announced at all. But within our context, maybe she precipitated whatever it is by announcing that, oh, we know where they are. Because she was convinced. That may be a mistake. And if that is a mistake,
Just a minute.
Subsequently, the police didn't rest on their oars. If you saw the police watch, what Israeli went through with them and that sort of, then you know that they did a good job.
But Doc, you see, you talk about leads.
Yes.
Are all leads credible? Because
No.
exactly.
Yes.
So, and that would depend on the kind of security agency you're dealing with.
I'm
I mean,
not
because
rudely interrupting you. I've seen instances in my studies where people, the leads go to say, my brother here, and he's been in prison for about 10, 15 years, and the lead is wrong. So these things happen in security issues. Somebody can lead you to the extent that it can be implicated in such a way that you think that is the person. 10, 20 years on, he's not a person at all. So criminals do this very often. Psyops, and in these days and age.
So to make a statement, I mean, so that it's not a definite situation that because you have the so-called leads, you are making the headway. For you to come and make a categorical statement,
there was a point,
that raises
there was
issues.
a point where we thought, there was a point, and I think that is where she made a statement. There was a point where we thought that the girls were even going to be brought by the Nigerian security. There was a point.
And that thought was based
false on leads. Let me allow Mr. Kofi to save Tiwa, but what I'm trying to say is that it happens.
That's fine.
In security issues.
Your co-panelists
in intelligence.
have a question to ask, and I'll allow Mr. Kofi Yeboah to pose that question to you. You want to make an intervention?
Yes, please. Doc, if we all appreciate that a lead could be wrong,
yes,
it is the more reason you have to be measured.
That's true.
In the statement you make.
Yes.
Okay, especially when you are talking about an experienced officer. Okay, I thought you must bear witness to the things you have seen with your eyes, and not just what you have heard. Okay, so if you have a lead that they are here, but you haven't seen them, and you know that you could be misled. That is why you should be very cautious.
I may accept that. I've said that 1 million times.
But let me go quickly. Goof. And that leads me to something the police has to do.
Very well. Mr. Kofi, I'll come to you for your reactions as well. But let me have Doc finalize with his submission here.
The family, at a point, we have not had this before. So the family is overwhelmed, expectations, And all of a sudden we find that, fine, these are from the forensic evidence. And let me assure all listeners and viewers that the persons who worked on the body, let us not doubt their credentials. Dr. Afrifa is the one and only forensic geneticist in Ghana. And he's being run all over the world, being invited left and right. So I don't doubt his credentials. That's number one. Number two, the families, how they were told. It's not the case that it was announced publicly before they heard. No. Teams were sent to them. Yeah. Some of them said, okay, we don't accept it. It's natural, and I'm not against that. But that they want to have their own forensic whatever investigation is allowed in law anyway. But
so the question is, why haven't they been given, samples of body parts? What is the challenge? What's
the challenge is that I can't just hand, these are this, take it and go. It's never done anywhere under the sun. What happens is that the police and whatever evidence we have must be handed over to them, provided they have the persons whom they want, and it's expensive. They themselves have to do it if they want to. That's number one. The hint is that it's expensive. You can't just hand over this to my brother, take it to wherever you want, and let us have a result. No, it can't be done. Number two, the reagents that are used in such forensic genetical this thing, it's not just on the shelf and somebody.
Definitely, they're going to consult the professionals to do that. They're not going to do it themselves.
They have to bring the professionals for them to team up with the team that worked on this, for them to use the parameters that agree on the parameters to be used, so that they come to the same conclusion. Other than that,
would that be independent then?
No, the security.
Would that be independent if you're going to subject it to the same?
No. The Afrifa is not going to work on it, but Afrifa is going to be part of the handing over to a colleague of his. But the colleague must agree on parameters, because why? In the US, they use a different parameter. In the UK, but you arrive at the same thing.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter which parameter, which processes.
But they'll have to agree on it because of the result that they have. Agreement doesn't mean that we are not going to use a different thing. You understand? They have to agree that I want to use the American standard, or you want to say fine. But they normally, under normal circumstances, whichever parameter.
Winston, I know you really want to.
And that is why normally you can't just give the body parts to the family.
A very short question for
quickly. Okay, yeah, it's a question.
Because he talks about we thought.
Okay.
We thought the girls were going to be brought up. Prof, were you part of those who believe that? Were you in the?
Yes, from the evidence that I saw and I heard, I was convinced that we have got. You see, there is this baby laboratory, whatever it is. You heard about it in Nigeria. Baby factory.
Yes.
And the Nigerian intelligence, Ghana intelligence, in fact, along the corridor, all the intelligence agencies were working with our Ghanaian intelligence. And evidence was that somewhere in Calabar they were.
So is that the reason
and
why
their picture,
the BNI director was asked to go away?
Exactly.
So you said that the person who misled all of us, eventually, was pushed aside.
I don't understand. Who was pushed aside?
I asked whether it was the reason why the BNI, the former deputy director,
BNI. No, I don't know that link.
You don't know.
I don't know about any link between the BNI.
You said yes.
He's my close friend.
Maybe he didn't understand the question.
He said yes initially.
Yes, but
because
let me come to Mr. Kofi Abuah here. Mr. Kofi Abuah, make your statement, yes, and then Winston, and then Kojo, I'll come to you for. You want to make an intervention?
There are some clarifications.
Sure. Okay. Yes, Mr. Kofi Abuah, you have the floor.
Okay, I wanted to make a point about how it is important for the police to handle their PR well. I think it is important to let the PR outfit handle these engagements, and then also the senior officers. I don't know the orientation they are taking through when you reach a certain rank, but communication is very important. And if I may have the permission of my Dean, Prof. Kwame Kakari, to share something he told me once, that in short, when he was appointed, the Commissioner of Strike called him to ask him to just give him a guidance as to how to speak or
engage with the public.
And it is very important. But even as we are also talking about what the police were able to do right and what they were not able
so
to.
Right.
I think there's one important thing we also need to address. And I take that from the Constitution at Article 200, Clause 3, which is the mandate of the police. Says the police service shall be equipped to enable them perform their
traditional role,
of
maintaining law and order.
Of maintaining law and order. Are we certain that they are well equipped, or they get the kind of support they need?
Right.
And I think if they are not that well equipped, and we are all not concerned about that, and yet we will always
we expect them to do magic,
blame them. And but I think it will be very, very unfair.
Right.
So let us also be interested in ensuring that the police service are well equipped and maintained.
Very well. Winston, the issue of resourcing the police is definitely a long-standing one.
Yes, of course.
We do know that is a challenge. I mean, because even for this particular incident, the operation that led to the discovery of the body parts, it had to take reinforcement from Accra to Takoradi. And Takoradi is a metropolis. You would expect that command, the Takoradi, is it the command? How would you call it?
The command.
Exactly.
The command,
would be well resourced, because I mean it's a big city. Takoradi is a big city.
But
so to the extent that Takoradi lacks and would have to fall on, I know there are reinforcement procedures and all when it comes to security operations and everything, but you're looking at how well resourced the commands are, and if it would have to take several months for reinforcement to come in for certain things to be done, then it raises issue. I mean, I think we need to look at that.
And even the challenge is that when the police got to, the septic tank,
oh yes,
they didn't even have the equipment. They had to go to the neighbors and ask for, shovel and all of those things. It tells you even their preparation in going to embark on that particular exercise. But you see, when Samuel Udotok Wales was arrested, he was arrested on 22nd December. He escaped on 30th. I think when he came back, he called one of the families again and still made demands. At that point in time, had the girls died, or the last one who was kidnapped on the 21st, had she died? When the police arrested him and found in his house clothes belonging to one of the girls, what did that tell the police? Now, I am told that it took one of our, experts. He was on some duties outside the country. He came back, and the very first thing he said to the police when he was told of this operation, of this issue, was that, have you checked his septic tank? And there are people in this country, and Professor here would know this, there are people in this country who are traveling all around Africa. They go to all the war-torn areas. They can actually organize crime scenes again and get them, and they are Ghanaians. So you see, what that tells you is that if the police was really bent on unraveling everything about this, we could have sought for assistance from even our own Ghanaians who are on duties elsewhere, and it would have helped us out quickly. I'm happy Prof agrees. So you see, that in itself would tell you that we took this as one of those issues. And you could see one of the policemen says, I have another kidnapping case here with me, so go to another place. He didn't get into that position because he wanted to be a policeman. Maybe he might have gotten there by virtue of the fact that Ejuma Neho, and I have a job coming up, so I'll just take it and then go ahead. And so when I say, for instance, that the state field, all of us, because the moment Samuel Udotok Wales was arrested, he moved to another place. Mind you, where he was originally, they found 3 bodies. The next place they went to after he had escaped, they found another. Dot the I's and cross the T's. You'll probably be finding out if we had acted swiftly, we could have prevented this. Look, the bit about the baby factory and all of those things. Yes, these are leads he would tell you. But which Nigerian authorities did we contact in the first place for them to have given us the information that that is the case? Did we verify that properly? And for the bit about Tiwa, you see, the truth is, when you say we know where the girls are, let us assume that, you had a lot of information and at the end of it all, it turned out to be false. But after that, when you're asked and you said you were giving them hope, that means that
right from the outset,
lying to them.
Yeah.
And what that means is that, and even goes on to show that you just did not care. if you say, "Oh, I was giving them hope," and you see, for those of us who are into Kofi here's a communications person, how you say something, everything we have said about meaning is who says what, when, and how. How? When Tiwa was asked again, and she says, "Oh,
she had an opportunity to
explain." He says, "Oh, I was giving them hope." You were giving them hope. That is not the kind of hope. Anybody who's lost a relative before, and talking from experience, it's around that time that you have the, you have a faith as big as this room, not even as a mustard seed, because around that time you think that even if I just go and pray, the person would come back to life. Yeah. So anybody who's lost somebody would be wishing for the best of information, just to believe that is not true. That is not when you give that kind of hope. And so, in all of this, and again, it will come back to the point about whether we learn lessons from our situations.
Oh, yeah.
We had a chance to do things right. We didn't take advantage of it. We don't need to make excuses. We accept failure. The only way you learn is when you accept that you've made a mistake.
Sure.
If you still think that, oh, it is not
Justified.
my fault, you will do it again.
Right. But you see, in all this, let's not also lose sight of the fact, you did mention it, but he escaped from cells. But then, allegedly, he was aided by an officer as well, which raises, other issues as well. Quickly, yes, your intervention.
That's something that I think the people of Ghana will make up their minds about. Very important point there. But I want to pick up just from where Winston left off about this Madam Tiwa's explanation. First thing is this: Madam Tiwa is not just an experienced officer. She's a brilliant officer. The evidence is in the speed of her rise under whichever government. There's a lot of politics in promotions in the police. But in spite of this, Madam Tiwa rose so fast through the ranks, regardless of who was in power. Right? That's evidence of brilliance. So for somebody at that level, to first of all announce we know where the girls are, and I appreciate Prof. Vladimir's point that, well, this was based on the preponderance of evidence. But let's not forget that that is our explanation of her actions.
Not hers.
Her own explanation is that I wanted to give them hope. That's her reason she's giving. You see, now, take that we know where the girls are, that she said during a press conference. I was there at that press conference. Take that and put it alongside something that many people have forgotten also happened. The Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection on Joy News said that she had viewed on a tablet belonging to the suspect. She had seen all the girls together on that tablet, so she knows they are safe. She said this to Ghanaians. Meanwhile, the last girl disappeared on the 21st?
21st.
And the suspect was arrested on the 22nd. So at what point did this group selfie taken? Based on which she was telling us sometime in the middle of 2019 that she has seen evidence that the girls are okay. Or based on what?
Right.
Now, the most troubling thing for me in all this is the handling of this matter by our president. It makes me sad. I feel like he missed an opportunity, or several opportunities. Nothing can calm the spirit more than hearing the highest authority in the land commiserating with you. But when this thing happened, in fact, the story broke in December. Oh, and let's not forget another interesting detail. When Samuel Wills escaped from the cell, he used the phone that he had on him when he was arrested. He used that phone.
So he had access to his phone even while he was... That's just...
Well, that's why I said the people of Ghana should make up their minds here. He used that same phone that he had when he was arrested. He used that to contact the families and tell them that I know you have spoken to the police, that will not help you, blah, 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 demanding more money. The same phone that he had when he was arrested. So when he escaped through the front desk and signed out his phone.
Or that it was never taken away from him.
Well, that would also raise eyebrows, wouldn't it? Anyway, back to the president's handling of this. And it breaks my heart. Because I remember I spoke to a top Jubilee House official just before the State of the Nation address for 2019. And I asked whether the president would be touching on this, and he said yes. This is an important issue. The president intends to address it. Not a word. In fact, the first time the president spoke about these missing Takoradi girls, bear in mind the first one disappeared in July 2018. The first time our president spoke about it was sometime in August or September when he was at a rally in Axim. He drove through Takoradi, where all the victims live, to Axim to address his followers. That's when he mentioned it. The families were personally hurt by this. And one of them, the family of Ruth Love Quason, they told us that the president called them the day that the announcement came that the remains had been identified. The president called them and they refused to speak to the president. He said, no, thank you, we won't speak to you. So the president still, to this day, hasn't had the opportunity to commiserate with one of the families. Meanwhile, he had over a year.
Wow.
I just want to wrap up with this, if you don't mind. The president, rather, in his recent Meet the Press, talked about how this is his biggest regret. And I can imagine how he feels. However, he also commended the police. Now, our police, they have a difficult job to do. Let's commiserate with them. But let's not be commending them for ineptitude. Let's not do that. He commended them for identifying the remains. But as we've just heard from Prof, it's not even it was some expert who was brought in to identify the remains, not the police. So what are we commending them for? Is it for the fact that the guy escaped from their custody?
He's a policeman.
Is it? Oh, he's a police officer. Oh, thank you for that correction. So what are we are commending them for identifying the remains? Well, that's actually in dispute. So what are we commending them for? Is it for the fact that we didn't even know there was a fourth kidnapped girl until September this year, when the girl was taken first in July? First girl to be taken. We didn't know about it till now. Is that what we are commending them for? Or are we commending them for the fact that when these things were reported to them, they didn't take it seriously? Or are we commending them for the fact that the regional commander, when we finally got to know about this story and interviewed him, he announced to the nation, please give us information to help us find the girls. And then we asked, but you haven't put out their pictures. Oh, we can't put out their pictures. So how are you going to get information? Is that what we are commending them for? Or maybe it's the escape. Is that what we are commending them for? So honestly, when you think about the catalog of errors, or maybe it was the assigning of liaison officers to the families who met the families once and then didn't give the families any further information until the remains were found.
Wow.
Or maybe it is the fact that when we rearrested Samuel Wills, when the police rearrested Samuel Wills at another location, they actually found the clothing belonging to the final victim. They found the clothing there, but nothing urged them to search the area, the same area where they finally found a fourth victim's body, eventually, months later.
I mean, seriously,
what
there
are we
so
commending
many
them for?
questions to be asked and lots of lessons to be learned. 30 seconds, we need to take a break. So
what is even worrying is that nobody is held responsible for all what has happened.
well.
Nobody.